and this is a collection of abstract games for 2 players that each fit within their own soda can. And the first game in the collection is called Catacomb, and the way that this one's set up is that you're going to be randomly placing tiles of 3 different colors, and then one player is going to get all the cubes with the black cats on it, and then the other player is going to get the cubes with all the white cats on them. And the game also starts out with some neutral calico blocks already out on the board, and on your turn you can choose to do one of 2 things. You can either place a block of your color on a stack of cats already out on the board, or you can move a stack of cats using the Mancala mechanism, which means that when you're moving the stack, you're always going to be leaving one block behind. Whoever colored cat is at the top of a stack is the one that's in control of that region, and if a player controls 3 different regions, then they win the game, or if they are the top cat on top of 3 different stacks of 3, then they can also win the game that way. There can never be a stack more than 3, and there can never be 2 of the same colored blocks on top of each other. And the next game in the collection is called Lightseeker, and the way that this game works is that you're going to have a whole bunch of different blocks, each with a dark side and a light side, and then a few sides that are half dark and half light. If a side is fully light, it's worth 2 points, but if it's only half light, then it's just worth 1. And you're trying to be the first player to connect blocks in such a way that you have 7 points total that are all connected together. But the way that the game actually plays is that you're going to be alternating turns, and you can either choose to tumble one block over so that it moves over to another side, but then also moves over to an adjacent space, or instead you can choose to slide a block over so that you're maintaining the same side up, but you're just moving over one adjacent space. Of course, in order to do either of those, there has to be an open space adjacent to that block, so you're going to be competing in this puzzle against your opponent, trying to get the right number of blocks together when it is your turn. And all these games look like really solid games, but this next one looks like the one that I think would be my favorite of the 4, and this one's called Forgenesis. And in this game, you're going to be playing on a board where each player's base is on opposite corners, and there's going to be 2 summoning locations on each side of your base. And there's a whole bunch of different creatures with different abilities offered in this game, but you're only going to be playing with 4 in each game, which is going to make each game feel different from the last. But basically, players are going to be alternating turns, taking a main action and an optional action. Your optional action is always to summon a creature onto the board, but your main action is to either activate 1 or more creatures, and when you do that, you'll be able to move them around on the board and then also perform their special ability. But the thing is, when you do perform their special ability, they're going to be flipping to their inactive side. An inactive creature cannot use its special ability, so you also have an action that will refresh all inactive creatures to make them become active again. Of course, you'll want to be efficient with this because you don't want to spend too many turns activating your inactive creatures, which means that you'll want to get as many out on the board so you have more actions and abilities that you can use before you perform that rest action. And the last game in the collection is Top Cap, and this is a simple game where players will be moving caps on a board, trying to be the first to get one of their caps into their opponent's corner. And the way this game works is that each player has a corner of the board on their side, and then you're going to have a row of caps that are your tokens. Each turn you're going to be able to move one of your tokens, but you can only move your tokens into empty spaces, and the number of movement points you get for that token is dependent on the number of caps that are adjacent to it before you made the movement. This is going to create an interesting strategy where you're trying to get tokens adjacent to your tokens but not adjacent to your opponents so that you have the most movement points on your turn. And if you think you might be backing this game, you will want to subscribe because it'll also get an additional game added to your pledge completely for free, which is called Get Salty. This is a game you're going to have to try not to eat while you're alternating turns, placing or moving snacks with the objective of trying to get 3 snacks of the same kind within a row. And you can find links to this campaign in the description below.